There is a version of your life that exists right now, fully formed, completely real, waiting, that you have not yet stepped into, not because you are not capable of it, not because the resources are not available, not because the timing is wrong or the circumstances are against you, or some external force is holding the door closed, but because there is a gap between the frequency you are currently operating at, the chronic low-level tension, the background anxiety, the subtle but constant resistance between where you are and where you want to be, and the frequency at which the life you want is already waiting for you. And here is what most success content will not tell you. That gap cannot be closed by trying harder. It cannot be closed by more hustle, more strategy, more discipline, applied to a mind that is already contracted with effort. It can only be closed by one thing: alignment. The specific, practiced, daily alignment between your inner world and the outer life you are building, between the state of your mind, your thoughts, your beliefs, your relationship with what you are creating, and the actions you take from that state. The Stoics understood this not as mysticism, as mechanics, as the observable, repeatable, entirely practical truth that a relaxed and directed mind produces outcomes that a tense and scattered one cannot. That the person who has learned to operate from inner peace, from genuine, grounded, unforced clarity, moves through the world differently, attracts differently, creates differently, builds differently, and arrives at places the chronically striving person never quite reaches. Not because they worked harder, but because they worked from a fundamentally different inner state. Tonight, over the next 50 minutes, we are going to build that state, not as a concept, as a lived experience. And by the time this video ends, if you stay, if you allow the process to work, something will have shifted. Not everything, not dramatically, but the beginning of an alignment that, practiced daily, has the power to change everything. Let me ask you something honestly. How much of what you want have you been trying to force? Not build, force. The difference matters. Building comes from a place of clarity, of knowing what you want and why, moving toward it with consistent daily action, trusting the process enough to work it without gripping it. Forcing comes from a place of fear, of needing it to happen faster than it is happening, of the low-level anxiety that says, if I stop pushing, if I relax my grip for even a moment, it will all slip away. That the vigilance is the only thing standing between me and failure. And most people who are trying to build something meaningful, something real, something that matters, are operating from the second state. Not because they are wrong about what they want, because they have never been shown that the inner state from which you pursue your goals determines the quality of what you attract and build as powerfully as the actions themselves. Marcus Aurelius, a man who built and governed the most powerful empire in the world, returned to this truth constantly. He wrote, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. Not the quality of your actions alone, the quality of your thoughts. The state from which the actions are taken." Tonight we are going to work on that state. 10 principles, each one a specific Stoic truth about the relationship between inner peace and outer success. Each one building toward a guided practice at the end that will allow you to experience, not just understand, what it feels like to operate from genuine alignment. And stay with me through Principle 8. That is the one that will change how you understand the relationship between relaxation and achievement in a way that makes everything else possible. Before we begin, if you have been looking for content that bridges the philosophical and the practical, that gives you not just wisdom, but the actual experience of wisdom applied. Subscribe to Stoic Blueprint. Tonight is different from every other video on this channel. Tonight we do not just talk about the principles, we live them. Hit subscribe, make yourself comfortable, and let us begin.
Principle 1.
What you want already exists in the direction you are facing. Your only job is to align with it. Most people approach their goals as if they need to be created from nothing, as if the version of themselves that is healthy, wealthy, deeply connected, doing meaningful work, living with full presence and genuine peace, is something that does not yet exist and must be constructed from scratch through sufficient effort. The Stoics had a fundamentally different understanding. They understood that the person you are capable of becoming, the life you are genuinely designed to live, is not a future construction. It is a present reality waiting to be aligned with. Like a frequency that already exists, that is already broadcasting, that you are simply not yet tuned to receive. And the tuning is not done through more effort. It is done through clarity, through relaxation, through the deliberate daily practice of releasing the tension that keeps you vibrating at a phrases, at a frequency that is incompatible with what you are trying to receive. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." The strength he was describing was not the strength of effort. It was the strength of alignment, of a mind that has stopped fighting its own clarity, that has released the grip of what it thinks it needs to control, and is therefore available to receive what is actually being offered. Think about the moments in your life when something significant arrived. The opportunity that seemed to appear from nowhere, the connection that formed without effort, the insight that arrived not during the straining but during the releasing. None of those came through force, they came through alignment. The practice tonight begins here. Close your eyes for a moment, if it is safe to do so, and bring to mind the version of your life that you are building toward. Not the details, the feeling, the quality of presence you carry in that life, the specific way your body feels when you imagine operating from that version of yourself. Hold it briefly, do not chase it, just notice it. That feeling is the frequency, and everything we do tonight is designed to bring you closer to it. Alignment is the foundation, but alignment without clarity about what you are actually aligning toward produces motion without direction. Principle 2. Clarity about what you want is not a luxury. It is the most practical thing you can build. Most people have a vague sense of what they want: more money, more freedom, better health, deeper relationships. Work that matters, those are categories, not targets, and the mind cannot move toward a category with the same precision and power that it can move toward a specific, vivid, emotionally real target. The Stoics built their entire philosophy around the idea of clarity of purpose, not as motivation, as orientation. Seneca wrote, "If a man knows not to which port he sails, no wind is favorable." No wind is favorable. Without clarity of destination, every circumstance is equally irrelevant. Every opportunity is equally ambiguous. Every choice is equally confusing because you have no compass to navigate by. Clarity is the compass. And here is what most people do not understand about building clarity. It does not come through more thinking. It comes through quieting the noise enough to hear what was already there. Most people know what they want. They have always known. But the noise, the should, and the supposed to, and the what will people think, has buried the signal under so much interference that they have lost access to it. Tonight's practice begins with this. When the guided section arrives, later in this video, I am going to ask you to access that clarity, to drop beneath the noise and touch the thing that has been waiting there. But before we get there, the preparation. For the next few minutes, as you listen, allow your attention to rest on this question. Not to answer it, just to hold it. What do I actually want? Not what I think I should want, not what would impress anyone, not the version I would describe at a dinner party. What do I actually want? Let that question be present without forcing an answer. The answer will come. It always comes when the forcing stops. Clarity unlocks direction. But direction without the inner state that makes achievement sustainable produces burnout, not success. Principle 3 builds the state. Peace is not the reward for achievement. It is the foundation that makes achievement possible. This is the principle that most success content has completely backwards. It teaches, work hard, achieve the goal, and then you will have the peace and freedom and fulfillment you are looking for. Peace itself is the prize, waiting at the end. The Stoics understood the exact opposite. Peace is the precondition, the inner state from which genuine achievement, sustainable, meaningful, compounding achievement, is most naturally and powerfully produced. Not the reward, the engine. Because here is what chronic inner tension does to the quality of your work and the speed of your progress that nobody talks about. It narrows your perception. The tense, striving, anxious mind literally sees less, processes less, is available for less of the creative, connective, intuitive thinking that produces the most significant breakthroughs. Not because you are less intelligent, because your cognitive resources are partially consumed by the management of the tension itself. Release the tension, genuinely, not as performance, not temporarily, and suddenly the same mind becomes capable of things that felt impossible before, not because it changed, because it was freed. Marcus Aurelius governed an empire and managed to write some of the most profound philosophical insights in human history. Not despite the weight of his responsibilities, but partly because of his daily practice of returning to inner peace before engaging with them. He wrote, "Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul." His own soul, not a vacation, not a break from the work, not a period of recovery, the interior world, available in every moment, regardless of external circumstances. The practice of returning to that retreat, briefly, deliberately, multiple times daily, is what kept his mind clear enough to produce what it produced, under the conditions it produced it. Your peace is not what you are working toward. It is what you are working from. And every minute you spend learning to access it reliably through the practices we will build tonight is a minute that compounds into the quality of everything else you produce. Peace as the engine. But engines need a clear road to run on. That road is built through one of the most underrated Stoic principles of all. Principle 4. Gratitude is not a feeling. It is a state of reception that opens every door. Most people practice gratitude as an exercise in contentment, in being satisfied with what they have, in finding reasons to feel okay about the current state of their life before moving to improve it. The Stoics practiced something more powerful, gratitude as a state of reception, the specific inner orientation toward what already exists, toward what has already been given, toward the evidence of alignment already present in your life, that opens the mind to receive more of the same. Because here is what genuine gratitude, practiced not as a list of things to appreciate, but as a quality of presence, does to your relationship with what you are building. It removes the scarcity, the chronic, low-level, never-quite-named sense that there is not enough, that it is not coming fast enough, that you are behind some schedule that was set somewhere and that you have not yet caught up to. That scarcity, subtle, pervasive, almost invisible, is one of the most powerful barriers to manifestation that exists, because it broadcasts at the frequency of lack, and lack attracts more lack. Seneca wrote with the full weight of someone who had experienced both extreme poverty and extreme wealth, and had examined both honestly. It is not the man who has too little who is poor, but the man who hankers after more. The hanker, the constant orientation toward what is not yet here, is the poverty, regardless of what is actually present. And the release of the hanker, the genuine, practiced, daily return to the abundance that already exists, is the wealth, regardless of the current numbers. Tonight's gratitude practice is not a list. It is a felt experience. When we arrive at the guided section, I am going to ask you to breathe into what already exists. To feel, not think about, but actually feel, the evidence of alignment that is already present in your life. The capacity you have, the people who are with you, the progress already made. The fact of being here, choosing to build deliberately when most people are choosing by default. That is not small. That is the foundation. And the mind that operates from that foundation, from genuine felt abundance rather than performed gratitude, is the mind that attracts and builds from a completely different frequency. Gratitude opens the reception, but reception without directed intention drifts. Principle 5 is where you aim it. Intention is not a wish. It is a commitment made in the present that the future is required to honor. The word intention is used so loosely in modern self-help that it has almost lost its meaning. I intend to exercise more. I intend to be more present. I intend to build the thing I have been thinking about building since longer than I would like to admit. That is not intention. That is aspiration with comfortable distance. Stoic intention, the kind that Marcus Aurelius practiced every single morning for 20 years, is something different. It is a specific, present tense, behaviorally binding commitment about who you are going to be today. Not tomorrow, not when the conditions are right, not in the version of your life that has already resolved the difficulties you are currently navigating. Today, in this moment, as the person you actually are right now, incomplete, imperfect, still becoming, he wrote, when you wake up in the morning, tell yourself, I have work to do, I have a role to play, I have a person to be, not aspirationally, declaratively. This is who I am today. And the universe, whatever you believe about how the universe works, responds to that declaration differently than it responds to hope. Because declaration requires nothing from outside yourself to be real. It is real the moment it is made. And the life built on daily declarations, on specific present tense, behaviorally binding commitments made before anything external has had a chance to influence them, compounds into something that retrospective motivation never produces. Tonight, in the guided practice, you will make an intention, not about what you want to achieve, about who you intend to be in the pursuit of it. That intention, made in the relaxed, clear, aligned state we are building toward, will feel different from every other goal you have set, because it will be set from a different place inside you. And that difference between the intention set from fear and the intention set from peace is the difference that changes everything. We are halfway through 5 principles built, 5 more to come. And then, in the final 15 minutes, something different is a guided practice that will bring everything we have covered tonight into direct experience. Not theory, lived. Stay with me through Principle 8, because that is the one that will change your understanding of the relationship between relaxation and success in a way that makes everything else not just possible, but inevitable. Let's continue. Detach from the how. The Stoics built empires by focusing on the what and the who, never the how. One of the most common ways the striving mind blocks its own progress is by trying to control the path. Before the journey has even fully begun, exactly how the destination will be reached, exactly what steps will be taken, exactly what the process will look like, and then gripping that plan so tightly that any deviation from it feels like failure rather than navigation. The how is not yours to control. Never was, never will be. What is yours, entirely, completely, unconditionally, is the what and the who, what you are building, who you are being in the building of it. Everything else, the specific path, the exact sequence, the particular form the success takes, is the universe's domain. And the person who understands that, who releases the how while holding the what and the who with complete conviction, moves differently. They are not rigid, they are directed. They do not collapse when the path changes. They adapt, because their commitment was never to the specific road. It was to the destination. Epictetus taught, "Seek not that the things which happen should happen as you wish, but wish the things which happen to be as they are, and you will have a tranquil flow of life." A tranquil flow. Not the anxious white-knuckling of someone trying to control every variable. The tranquil flow of someone who knows where they are going and trusts the journey enough to let it take the form it needs to take. That trust in your direction, in the process, in the alignment between your inner state and your outer work, is not passivity. It is the most sophisticated form of confidence available. Detach from the how, hold the what, be the who, and watch how the how takes care of itself. Your thoughts about money, success, and wealth are the ceiling or the door. You choose which. Most people carry beliefs about money, success, and wealth that they inherited rather than chose. Beliefs formed in childhood, in the environment that surrounded them before they were old enough to examine what they were absorbing. Money is hard to come by. Success is for other people. Wealth requires sacrifice of things I am not willing to sacrifice. Rich people are something. Lucky or ruthless, or fundamentally different from me in some way that makes their success appropriate and mine somehow less certain. Those beliefs, running underneath the conscious mind, never quite examined, always active, are the ceiling, not the economy, not the market, not the competition or the timing or the external circumstances that feel so convincingly like the explanation for why the thing is not here yet. The belief is the ceiling, and a ceiling can be removed. Not through positive affirmations delivered to a mind that does not believe them, through honest examination, through the Stoic practice of looking at the belief clearly, not defending it, not agreeing with it, just seeing it for what it is. A thought formed in conditions that no longer exist, maintained by repetition rather than by evidence, and then, through the deliberate, practiced, daily replacement of that thought with one that is both more accurate and more aligned with what you are actually building. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." If your thoughts about wealth are the color of scarcity, your soul is dyed that color. If your thoughts about success are the color of doubt, that is the frequency you broadcast. Tonight, in the guided practice, we are going to examine those colors gently, without judgment, with the understanding that what you find there is not who you are. It is what you inherited, and inherited things can be returned. Relaxation is not the opposite of productivity. It is the state that makes peak productivity possible. This is the principle that changes everything, because it directly challenges the belief that most high-achieving people hold most firmly, that striving, the constant, vigilant, never quite enough pushing is what produces results. That relaxation is the enemy of achievement, that the moment you soften your grip, stop pushing, allow yourself to rest in the process, you lose ground. That belief is not just wrong. It is the primary mechanism of self-sabotage available to ambitious people. Because chronic tension, the physical, mental, emotional tension of someone who cannot stop striving long enough to actually receive, produces a specific kind of diminishing return. The harder you push from that state, the tighter the contraction becomes. The tighter the contraction, the narrower the perception. The narrower the perception, the smaller the actions available. The smaller the actions, the slower the progress, and the slower the progress, the more the fear accelerates the striving. It is a loop, and the only exit is not through the top, not through striving harder. It is through the release, through the deliberate, practiced, non-negotiable daily return to a state of genuine relaxation, not as rest from work, but as the most productive state available for the most important work. Seneca wrote, and this may be the most counterintuitive sentence in the entire Stoic canon: true happiness is to enjoy the present without anxious dependence on the future. Without anxious dependence on the future. The person who can be fully present, who can give their complete, relaxed, uncontracted attention to the work in front of them, without the background noise of whether it is enough, whether it is happening fast enough, whether the future is secured, that person produces at a level that the chronically striving person cannot match. Not because they care less, because they are more available, more present, more creative, more capable of the nonlinear leaps, the insights, the connections, the unexpected doors that change everything. Relaxation is the access state for your highest performance, not the reward for it. And the practice we are building tonight, the guided experience that is coming, is specifically designed to give you that state, not as a concept, as a felt reality that your body and mind will remember and be able to return to. Every action taken from peace compounds differently than every action taken from fear. The action itself may look identical from the outside, the same email written, the same call made, the same work produced, the same hours invested. But the inner state from which the action is taken determines something invisible and enormously important: the quality of the signal it carries into the relationship, into the work, into the world. Two people can say the same words, take the same action, make the same offer, and one produces a fundamentally different response than the other, not because their words were different, because their state was. The person speaking from peace, from genuine, grounded, unforced inner stability, carries a quality of presence that the person speaking from need cannot replicate, because presence is felt before it is understood. And the decision most people make about whether to trust, invest, connect, respond, is made at the level of felt presence before it is made at the level of conscious evaluation. Marcus Aurelius understood this as one of the core truths of leadership. He wrote, "The first rule is to keep an untroubled spirit. The second is to look things in the face and know them for what they are. Untroubled spirit first. Then clear perception, then right action from that clarity, in that order. Always in that order, because the action taken from the untroubled spirit is the one that produces the result the troubled spirit was trying to force. Every action you take tonight after this practice, from the state we are building, will carry a different quality. And that quality, accumulated across every action you take from a place of genuine peace, compounds into a life that the striving version of yourself was always reaching for, but never quite arriving at. The state before the action, that is the work. You do not attract what you want, you attract what you are. This is the foundational truth that ties every other principle together, and it is the one that makes the Stoic approach to manifestation, to success, to wealth, to the life you are building, completely different from every other framework available. Most manifestation content says, focus on what you want, visualize it, affirm it, feel as if it is already here. That is not wrong, but it is incomplete. Because the most powerful attractor available is not what you are thinking about. It is who you are being. The specific, moment-to-moment, behavioral reality of the person you are showing up as. In the quiet, in the private moments, in the interactions nobody is watching, in the quality of care you bring to the work before any result is visible, that is what you attract. The opportunities that are aligned with that person, the connections that are drawn to that frequency, the results that are the natural expression of that quality of being. Epictetus taught, first say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. First be, then do in that order. Not do enough until you become. Be, and then do from that being. Tonight's practice is designed to help you access the being, to experience, briefly but genuinely, what it feels like to already be the person whose life you are building toward. And from that experience, to act, not as performance, as the most natural expression of who you already are at your most aligned, most relaxed, most genuinely powerful. This is the Stoic secret of manifestation, not wishing, being. And being, practiced daily, held consistently, deepened through the kind of honest inner work we have done tonight, becomes the most powerful creative force available to a human life. The practice, bringing everything together, we have arrived. Everything we have covered tonight, the alignment, the clarity, the peace as engine, the gratitude, the intention, the detachment from the how, the beliefs about wealth, the relaxation as peak state, the action from peace, the being before the doing, all of it has been preparing you for this. Find a comfortable position. If you can lie down, lie down. If you are sitting, let your back be supported. Let your hands rest open, palms facing upward. Gently close your eyes and take 3 slow, deliberate breaths. Not to relax, to arrive. Because you are already here, you have always been here. The only thing required is to stop moving long enough to notice it. Inhale slowly, hold briefly, exhale completely. Again, inhale, hold, release. One more. Inhale, hold, release everything. Now, allow your attention to rest in your body, not thinking about it. Just feeling it, the weight of it against whatever is holding you. The rhythm of your breath moving through it, the temperature of the air, the subtle aliveness present in every cell. This body has carried you to this moment. It has survived everything that tried to stop it, and right now, in this moment, it is completely, perfectly, exactly where it needs to be. Now, gently, without forcing, bring to mind the version of your life you are building toward. Not the details, the feeling. What does it feel like to wake up in that life? What is the quality of the morning? The specific sense of spaciousness, of knowing that the day belongs to you, that the work you are doing matters, that the relationships around you are real and nourishing and chosen deliberately. Feel into that, not thinking about it, feeling it. Let the feeling become real in your body. Let it move into your chest, your shoulders, the space behind your eyes. This feeling is not fantasy. This feeling is the frequency of the life you are building, and you are in it right now. Now, from this feeling, bring to mind what you want, not what you think you should want, what you actually want. The wealth that gives you freedom, the success that comes from work that is genuinely yours, the relationships that the fullness of who you are, the health and vitality that make everything else possible, the inner peace that does not depend on any external condition to exist. Feel it as already present, not coming. Here. Because at the level of intention, at the level of the Stoic present tense declaration, it is. You are the person who is building this. You are the frequency of this. You are, right now, in this moment of relaxed clarity, exactly the person whose life this is. Breathe into that, hold it, and when you are ready, gently bring your attention back to the room, to the breath, to the body, to the ordinary, extraordinary fact of being alive in this moment, with everything you need to build everything you want. Already present, already yours. Beginning tonight, 10 principles, alignment with the version of your life that is already waiting, clarity about what you actually want beneath the noise, peace as the engine, not the reward, gratitude as a state of reception that opens every door, intention as a present tense declaration, not a future hope, detachment from the how while holding the what and the who, beliefs about wealth, examined, released, replaced, relaxation as the access state for peak performance, action from peace compounding differently than action from fear, being before doing, the Stoic secret of everything and the practice, the felt experience of the frequency you are building toward. That is not just a meditation, that is a biological anchor, a state your nervous system has now experienced and can return to every morning, briefly, deliberately. Return to it. Before the emails, before the news, before the world has had a chance to pull you away from the clarity you built tonight. 5 minutes, the breath, the feeling, the present tense declaration. I am the person who is building this. I am operating from peace. I am aligned with everything I am working toward, and I am doing the work today in this moment from that place. That practice, held daily, deepened over time, compounds into the life you were in tonight. Not as a wish, as a direction you keep choosing until it becomes the only direction you know. You already have everything you need. You always did. Now, go build it. How do you feel right now compared to how you felt when this video started? Drop one word in the comments, just one. Because that shift, however subtle, is the frequency we built tonight, and naming it makes it real. If this gave you something, a feeling, a clarity, a sense of what becomes possible when the inner state is right, share it with someone who is striving when they could be flowing. This is Stoic Blueprint, built for the ones who are ready to build from peace, not toward it. There is a video on the screen right now that will take you deeper into this work. Rest well tonight, and I will see you there.